slightly different, obviously, because I'm feeling different in my body, in my energies, to, you know, first thing in the morning. So again, I don't know what's going to unfold on the mat. I've got no plan. I've had just to give you an idea of what happens, where my practice might take me after a certain day of activities. So I have been chasing a 1-year-old around for till about 2 o'clock. I've been doing in between that some stuff on the computer, getting ready for term, and then sitting in the car. So I'm a little bit tired in the body, I'm a little bit stiff. I'm certainly quite tired in the eyes after looking at the computer screen. Say hi if you join me. I'd like to know who I'm practicing with. So yeah, so that just gives you a little bit of background as to my day and what happens when I get on the mat toward the end of the day with my practice. And it's actually a little warm in here, so I'm going to turn the fan on a little because it's a little bit steamy today, isn't it? So that'll help. All right. So my low back's a little bit tired and tight. So I might just start in Eastern prayer. So if you're going to follow me, just do whatever's comfortable for you. But just by starting in a nice easy Eastern prayer, I start to feel really what's going on in the body, and yes, definitely my back is tight. I can feel my legs are a little tired, my forehead and my head. So I'm just checking that out here as I settle into the space. Yeah, I can notice that I'm actually more tired than what I thought. And that quite often happens, doesn't it, when we're going, and then all of a sudden when we stop and be still, we notice that we're actually really quite tired. But I can feel that my body needs a nice big stretch. It needs to open up the energy channels, and that will help lift me because, you know, it's only 5 o'clock. There's still quite a bit of the day to go yet. So by moving the whole body, getting that energy flowing through the whole body, it's a bit like a coffee. I would assume. I don't drink coffee, but having a coffee, you get that lift. So that's how I'm going to play it out, I think. So I'm going to tuck my toes because my feet are a little sore. I can feel my legs a little sore. So I've got my toes tucked and just sitting on my heels. If that's too much for you, just sit up and have your toes tucked. But this is where I'm going to start the practice now that I've had a little look at what's going on for me. Close down my eyes, and this can be quite intense, this posture. And normally, you know, in a class we would hold this for maybe a minute, try and hold it for 2. And just be with the discomfort of it. So obviously if it's painful, especially on your knees, you don't want to be here. Try and find a position that's a little bit more comfortable for you. But the reason we tuck our toes like this, meridian lines start and finish in the toes, or start at the toes. So we can clear a lot of blockages, get that moving just by coming into a position like this and putting a lot of pressure onto the ends of our toes. And no doubt you can feel this in the calves, the shins, the tops of the feet. And of course we're all going to feel it in different areas because we're all tight and restricted in different areas. Just being with the breath. We won't hold it for as long as we would normally hold it in a class, but just to get a bit of flow going when we release. Okay, so just coming forward, untucking, and it'll feel really nice when you untuck. And sitting down with the feet flat. Again, you may need to have a blanket between the thighs and the calves. That can help if it's tight on the knees or tight on the front of the ankles. And then to walk this out, once we want to get that energy moving up through the legs. So once we come up, we're going to walk out into dog. So just lifting up and back and paddling out the feet. Maybe your hands are on the floor, maybe they're up on a chair. Just paddling out the feet, opening up the backs of the calf muscles, the back of the legs, and again that will vary on person to person as to where you feel that restriction the most. We keep the sit bones lifted up, and then I'm going to go and cross the knees over and open up the sides of the body. You can already feel that that prana starting to flow through the legs and into the hips. Into the back of the hips, I can feel that, the sides. Just pumping the legs a little. Shifting that energy up. I want to get it into the front of the body, so I'm going to go into a lunge, stepping forward with the right leg, and then lifting up. So I'm not into a real low lunge. My shoulders are up above my hips and my hips up above my knee. But just starting to open up into the left psoas, maybe a little twist. Start to shift it through the low back. Back into dog to change sides. So just follow how that feels for you. If you need to keep your hands on the floor, keep your hands on the floor. So remembering our target area is the hip flexor. Starting to shift the energy in the front of the leg, the front of the pelvis. Moving into the low back a little, the low ribs, up through the spine. And bring it back. Back into dog. Paddle it out. I'm going to take my knees wide, toes together, bottom back into Eastern Prayer, my chest down toward the floor, getting further up the spine and up into the ribs, into the shoulder blade area and the chest. And bring it back up. Toes to the floor, knees come back in. And then I'm going to find a nice still dog. Just holding that
lengthening in the back body. So I'm feeling it more in the calf muscles today. That's from walking around chasing that little boy of mine. I'm going to come over into plank. Start to move it up into the shoulders and the neck. And back into dog. So just moving forward and back. And you can do this from Eastern Prayer to cat or to tabletop to get the same or similar effect without having to pop the weight on your hands. But just starting to shift that energy up. Bringing the knees down and come down into a low cobra first. Roll the shoulders a few times. Starting to move it into the front of the shoulders and the shoulder joints themselves, the arms, the neck, and then up into cobra. Just popping a bit of weight into the hands, shoulders are away from the ears. Tuck the toes back into dog. Paddle it out. And then find some stillness again. And not often do I really do a pigeon in my own practice, but I feel like I need a bit of a pigeon today. So I'm going to bring my right knee to my right wrist, the left foot to the left side of the mat, and wiggle the leg back. And I'm just going to keep it upright, again to open up the left hip flexor. Maybe even let's use a little bit of strength there. Lifting up, bringing it back into dog. And don't feel you had to have your right hip to the floor then. It's not necessary, especially when we're pushing up like that. Wiggle it back first. And of course, if this doesn't play nice with your knee, then just find another alternative or rest. Pushing into the floor as I lift up. Lifting up, you can see my left hip flexor line is quite long and lifted. And back into dog. Nice still dog. Feeling the energy in my body. It's flowing much smoother now. I don't feel like there's many blocks in the body, in the energy system. Feels much more open. Maybe I need a little bit of something around the sides of my ribs because there's not much happening there. As far as energy goes, I'm going to do a bit of a twisted lunge, bringing myself into a lunge, keeping the back foot tucked. I'm going to come into a little twist and then popping my right hand on my heel, my left heel, lift up and over. And you can see that's getting into my left rib cage area, the side of the torso, opening that up There's a lot of meridians run through there. Bringing it back. I'm going to change sides, just back through dog for your transition. Oh, it already feels better. Left foot in, creating a lunge on that side, and it doesn't have to be a sunken lunge. Be safe with your pelvis. Oh, back foot tucked. And then coming back onto the hand, to the heel, opening up the other side. Just spiraling it back into dog. Ah, feels great. I'm going to bring my knees down and come back into hero pose now. So I've got my feet flat. It's feeling much better. Bringing my hands behind me, little chest expander. Maybe a little bit of cow face arms. So I've got my right arm up, my left arm behind. Take hold of the fingers if you can get there. Just because it's a quick practice, you don't want to be fluffing around getting your belt or anything unless you want to hold it longer. So just pop the hands, even if you can't reach your fingers, just pop them on your back. But if you can grab your fingers, then do that. I'm going to fold it forward. Lifting up, swapping it over. Taking hold in the other direction. That's live. So my left arm was up, my right arm's behind. Sit bones are heavy and I'm folding forward here. Don't feel free to just stay upright if you like. Lift it back up. Let's just go for eagle arms because we can. Right on top of left, twirl them up. Lifting the elbows up away from the chest and the hands up above the elbows. Shoulders down away from the ears. And swapping sides, this time left on top of right. Working right into those meridians in the shoulders, the arms, up the sides of the neck and into the face and the head. And bringing them out. Let's go into a little twist to the right. A little twist to the left. Center. I'm just going to sit here for a moment and just notice what else it is that my body needs. So I think it feels like it's done enough moving, so I'm going to go onto my back now and get a little bit more stretch now into the low back and the hips. So just bringing up the legs, giving the knees a little hug. Maybe a rock around, just massaging the back into the floor. And straighten out the left leg. And then swap it over. And cross my legs. So I'm getting into the back of the glutes now, and the back of the pelvis. So you'll feel that in the glutes or underneath the glute muscles there on the right side. My legs are crossed and I'm just hugging it in. And swapping sides. And I know I've spoken to a few of you that have said, you know, that you get on the mat and you can't work out what you need to do. You don't know the sequence. So when you're doing that, when you're just playing on the mat, when you're just exploring, don't worry about the sequence, you know. Just feel what's going on in your body. And that's the whole, my mission in my classes is to have you work out what feels good in your body and the little messages that your body is calling for. You know, even just something as simple as this. I can feel my ankle wanting to twirl around. I can feel it needs a little bit of movement there. And that's all it is, just really listening to those subtle sensations in the body and following them and seeing how it plays out. Just learning to listen. That's it. Coming to stillness and just seeing what else is going on there. I feel like I need a little bit more twist in the upper body. So I'm going to roll onto my side. So I'm on my right side and I'm just going to roll the right arm back, lifting up the leg just a little for me because I know that I've got lots going on in my pelvis. Letting the head turn and the head just be heavy. So the neck gets a nice little twist in a relaxed position. The jaw's soft, the face is soft. And then rolling back to the start, over to the other side, doing the same on the other side. You might notice that I didn't lift my knee this side because it's the other side of the pelvis that is in balance, so it's quite comfortable on this side to have my legs down. And bringing it back to constructive rest. Just taking some time to notice again how I'm feeling, and I feel so much better. So I'm going to go straight to Savasana. You might like to do a little inversion first, maybe. I'll just show you if you've got a bolster or a pillow. You might like to, I've got very floppy pants on, so I'm hanging onto them. You might like to pop your, actually this feels really good, pop your pelvis up on a little prop and just let the legs float up above the pelvis. Feels nice. So I've only got half an hour for my practice tonight. Oh, we're just going to stay here for maybe another 30 seconds and then take Savasana. Push the bolster out now. Lay my legs over the bolster. Redress myself. Just align the body. It's really important to align the body for Savasana. And once you're there, just feeling that energy, that prana flowing through the body. I know that I can feel that all those blockages, well maybe not all of them, but a lot of the energy is flowing much more freely now. We've moved it through. You get a little bit of a lightness about you when your prana's flowing freely through the body. And yeah, you feel that's that lightness that you get after a yoga class, and the focus. You feel very calm and focused in the moment. So feel free to stay there for a longer Savasana, but I've got about 30 seconds to go before I have to keep moving. So by all means, stay there for as long as your body is asking you to. I'm rolling over and sitting up. It's taking a moment once I'm seated. Just checking out how I feel now compared to when I first moved in and got to my mat. I feel completely different. I've got rid of any tension that's accumulated in my body and my mind throughout the day. That tiredness has shifted through. I haven't overexerted myself that, it's going to keep me up late. Hasn't overstimulated my nervous system. If anything, that movement has calmed it down. Finishing with my hands at my heart, being grateful for my practice, for my teachings that I've had, and for my Sangha, that I can now share that knowledge with. Namaste.